Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money. Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello. From the beautiful city of Abuja, it is my pleasure today to welcome you to today's edition of Money Radio. Thursday edition of Money Radio is usually, as you are aware, for all of you who have been following us loyally on this program, Energy Focus. And today's topic in Energy Focus says, issues as PIA implementation gets underway, the Seplat Exxon Mobil acquisition deal. As the PIA implementation gets underway in Nigeria, of course, we know that some of the implementation stage will take 12, some 18 months. And of course, we are evolving gradually into that time now when some of these, whatever that is supposed to be taking place to get the PIA properly underway, are actually evolving. And because of all of this, we have been seeing some strange, not necessarily strange, but I would say new activities going on in the oil industry, the Nigerian oil industry. And so the topic today is actually one that is appropriate. In the studio to discuss the topic with me is our regular in-house analyst, Mr. Anthony Uko. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
Like I said, I will ask you how you are doing because it is clear how you are doing. So, sir, to start with today's program, let's please walk us through what is going on. What is going on between Seplat and ExxonMobil, and how does all of this relate to the PIA?
Yes. Seplat Nigeria PLC is actually an indigenous energy company operating in Nigeria. And Seplat also has a mother company, so to say, that is an international company listed on the London Stock Exchange. So here we're looking at two companies. We're seeing Seplat International and Seplat Nigeria, Seplat Energy Plc, which is the indigenous company. And on the other hand, we have the Exxon Mobil Producing Unlimited, which is the international company, and we also
based
have
in America, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we also have the Mobil Nigeria Producing Limited.
Okay.
A subsidiary of the International Mobil operating here in Nigeria. And in February, we saw a case where the International Mobil Unlimited, wanting to sell its onshore shares to Seplat at the international level. And this was, they had reached a share purchase agreement for 100% of Mobil Nigeria's onshore operations to be transferred to Seplat.
Yes.
Yeah, both jointly, the Nigerian, the indigenous company, as well as the um, foreign, its foreign counterpart.
Yes.
Yeah. So, however, we are in a process, an evolving process in the oil industry,
Yes.
moving from the petroleum, moving from the Petroleum Act of 1969
Yes.
into the PIA, which was signed last year, August 2021.
Yes.
So, and we've been seeing the phased implementation process. We saw uh, the former DPR, which
Yes.
was in charge of energy, upstream licensing and operations,
Yes.
giving way to the new Nigerian upstream regulatory authority commission. And then we saw before now the Minister of Petroleum had overarching powers
Yes.
within the petroleum industry, and then we saw some of these powers being whittled down. So all
That is under the PIA.
yes, under the PIA. So now
Sorry, just for the purpose, for the sake of our listeners, the PIA is the
is the
Petroleum Industry
Petroleum
Act.
Industry Act.
Yeah. Okay.
So now I would say that the recent development, to me, it's actually very interesting. I'm actually excited that Nigeria has gotten to a point where you see um, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is also the Minister of Petroleum, giving authorization that a deal should go on.
Yes.
A deal should proceed to be finalized. And then you now see um, a regulatory authority acting on the powers
Of the PIA.
of the PIA, coming out to say, no, we have issued a different a different position on this before.
Or a different protocol.
A different protocol
Yeah.
on this before, which we had communicated to the company seeking to acquire those shares, and that should stand. That is what's the word I'm looking for, that word now, as in
A counter authority.
a counter authority
Yeah.
over that of the president.
I can understand
who
your
is-
excitement.
So I'm actually excited. It's exciting times
Yeah,
for us.
because
in the
it's like
petroleum.
there's no, it's not, business is not as
It's
usual.
not actually as usual.
Yes, that
Yes.
means that is the importance of having an act.
Yes.
This is law,
Yeah.
and the president's power does not supersede the law.
Yes.
So I can understand that excitement, and those are some of the things that will make foreign investors out there to see that, look, it's not a business as usual as before, where somebody with authority will just come and override a
Yes.
process.
Yes.
No, things have to go according to law.
To law.
And that is a good point you just made, that it is exciting to you, because with this in mind now, or with this scenario playing out, you will see that people will have faith in the system.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. So, with this now, where are we?
Yes. As at this morning, the latest information is that the president
Mhm.
as
President Muhammadu Buhari.
Muhammadu Buhari, and in his position as the minister
Mhm.
of petroleum,
Yes.
has reversed his earlier authorization and sought to support the regulatory
authority. That is a good one.
That's actually a good one. That's what I'm saying. I'm just excited by the turnout of this of what is happening, the development that it's happening. And at the beginning I was like, what? When the presidency, the minister in his position as minister gave the authorization that the Seplat Exxon Mobil deal can go on, and then few hours later, the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission coming out to give a counter position, a counter regulation or position on that. I was somehow disturbed that, whoa, what message?
A wrong signal.
Yes, what kind of signal would this be sending out?
Yes, to prospective
investors. And then I was like, well, let me see how this plays out. What will happen? So, of course, with the latest development, it shows that there is a lot still to be done, but it's a process that is beginning, and
yes.
it's being put on the right perspective.
This is a step in the right direction, at least.
The right direction.
And with this in mind, we can see, or we can have hope that there is really hope for the industry. I wonder if the regulatory authority, which is not in this case now the
NUPRC,
yes.
Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission.
Yes. With this in mind now, the NUPRC will be able to counter some of the fiat. How do I put it?
Fiat laws or approvals.
Yes, the fiat approvals or orders.
Yeah,
that's the word I was looking for.
Orders.
The fiat orders. Some of those fiat orders, I hope the NUPRC will be able to counter some of those fiat orders of some authorities in the future, and make the international community, the internationally investing international community, know that things are actually based on a law in Nigeria right now.
Yes, the right word, you used a very apt word there.
Mm-hmm.
In the future.
Yes.
In that many of these arrangements, approvals,
yes,
have already been granted,
yes,
under the previous law,
yes,
before the Petroleum Industry Act,
yes,
came into force.
Yes.
And this ones the PIA is not out to turn the industry upside down,
yes,
by countering those previous laws which were not
ex post facto.
Yeah, so those ones will just continue,
yes,
until they have
outlived
expired.
Yes,
yes, until the contracts have expired, and then renewals of such of subsequent ones would now be based on the purview of the PIA and its provisions.
That's great. Now, there are some other provisions in the PIA, other provisions.
Yes.
My hope, or should I say my fear or my hope, is that the NUPRC will be able to counter some of the governmental orders in the future. And I will give you an example of what I'm talking about. Under the PIA, fuel subsidy is supposed to be removed after a certain period, a certain lead period. Yes. But the federal government came up not recently, a few months ago, and they overrode that provision in the PIA. And we know for sure right now that during the life of this administration, at least for the next 10 months, we are not going to see removal of fuel subsidy because it has been announced.
Yes.
Now, in the future, when the PIA, of course, we can allow that because we know that for the removal of fuel subsidy, the government had made in the PIA, it is stated that the government will have to give a lead time of some 18 months. But at the expiry of the 18 months, will the NUPRC have that authority to override the federal government's order that all stay position that fuel subsidy remains until otherwise ordered?
Well, one thing, you're bringing in fuel subsidy now, which has to do with the downstream.
Yes.
Under the PIA, we have had the regulatory agencies being not concentrated in one agency like we had under the previous law. Here
Yes.
we have the NUPRC, which is saddled with regulating the upstream operations. And we have the downstream, mid and downstream sector operations being regulated by the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Regulatory Authority.
Yes.
So it means that you're saying the Nigerian Midstream Downstream should look at this and be able to act accordingly.
Accordingly,
yes, follow suit,
drawing some precedents from
from what the
NUPRC.
upstream regulator has done, and put its foot down and say the Act says that fuel subsidy should be removed
after 18 months.
And so we expect that we should follow the Act. Well, like you've pointed out, is there's still the leeway of some months to go.
Yes, that should be about 6 months left, because this was the PIA was passed in August. August 16, if I'm not making a mistake.
Yes.
2021.
2021.
And with 18-month lead, that means
that 18-month leeway was actually announced sometimes in February this year. The announcement came.
If you look at the PIA, there was some lead period. Is it
yes,
not?
But it will still run into next year.
It will still run into next year, but not
next year.
Next year, but
in
February, March. That's still in the life of this administration. So, can we hope for an overturn of the federal government's pronouncement that fuel subsidy remains until fuel subsidy remains until otherwise ordered from the midstream and downstream regulatory authority?
Well, that will be a big test.
A tsunami.
It will be a big test on the resoluteness of the regulators. Yeah. Would they have the courage to stand up to this administration and say, this law has been passed, let's follow it. Fuel subsidy removal begins now.
Yes, there's something I want to say. We want to go on a short break, but just before we go on that short break, I would like to appreciate in this case now I would say, humility of President Muhammadu Buhari for accepting that there is a law guiding these things and it should be abided by.
Yes.
So I would say thumbs up to President Buhari for being
indeed.
humble enough to accept that law supersedes his authority.
Yes. Thumbs up indeed.
Yeah. So with that, let's go for a short break. When we come back, we want to look at a few other issues and make some prognosis before we shut the day of Money Radio. Stay tuned, listeners.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money. Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back, viewers. You're still on to Money Radio, and this is the energy focus segment of the program. Still in the studio with me is our delectable Mr. Anthony Uko, our in-house analyst, who has been doing justice to this topic. And the topic which we are on is actually about the PIA, and as it relates to upturning decisions of the not the regulator in this case, but the president, who is the minister of petroleum. And yes, you have been doing justice to the topic. Now, just before we went on that break, we were talking about the probability or the possibility of having regulatory authorities override the decisions of some authorities. And we are looking at it as a step in the right direction, because with this, it sends a signal to prospective investors, prospective international investors, that what we have been seeing, the impunity, the lawlessness in the industry, no longer persists. We have a new regime. Now, with this, is there a possibility that we could see some of the moves by international oil companies, the IOCs, being reversed? When I say moves being reversed, I'm not talking about from the standpoint of an authority reversing those moves, but I'm talking about a silver lining, a light at the end of the tunnel, that things may get better. Talking about downstream activities.
Their decision
to divest. Because some of the things that are actually moving these IOCs to divest their interests, their onshore interests, include things like oil theft, insecurity. There was a time kidnapping was rife, to the extent that Exxon Mobil, was it Mobil? Yes, moved their office, their head office, from the riverine areas to Lagos, where it's safer. Yes, and might these things become some light at the end of the tunnel to make the IOCs think twice about their positions? Because if you look at it, it is actually cheaper to mine oil onshore than offshore. So might we see a reverse in their decisions based on what we are beginning to see, that laws actually stand over authorities?
There is a likelihood. However, we must also put into consideration that the oil industry is undergoing a transition from fossil fuels to cleaner sources, to renewables mainly. And because of this, there has been a lot of uh, pressure from global, especially on international companies, on where they put in fresh investments going forward. So no doubt the issue of oil theft, pipeline vandalism, and the rest, insecurity, has been a contributory factor. And then the lack of a clear-cut regulation in the industry. These were all factors that the IOCs, the international oil companies, took into consideration in their decisions to divest. And so they will definitely they will begin to weigh their options,
Yes.
especially where to what extent the lack of a clear-cut regulation had played in their decision to divest. So that will play, they will have to sit down and take another look
Yes.
at their decisions based on that. The issue of oil theft is still there, vandalism is still there, insecurity and all that. But to what extent are they willing now to say, okay, with regulation going more in the right direction
Yes.
than it were before? To and so on, all the both the regulatory agencies as well as the minister of petroleum to synergize, know where their powers under the PIA, what their powers cover,
Yes.
what they can do,
Mm-hmm.
and what is not within the purview
Yes.
of their own office under the PIA, so as not to continue sending out, making those
Yes.
mistakes
Yeah.
going forward,
Yeah.
because it would be confusing.
You're
And
right.
yes,
Yes. To some extent, it could even send a negative
a
signal.
negative
Having
signal.
said that, I want to just note that while the world had started transitioning from fossil fuel, from the use of fossil fuel, whereas Nigeria would have less to gain in the future.
Mm,
You know, not to be thankful for the war going on in Ukraine, but
yes.
you know, Europe and the US, the West,
Mm,
had actually, the world has not actually gotten to that point yet where they can become completely less reliant or completely, um, yes, to reduce their reliance on fossil fuel completely. And with
yes.
the war in Ukraine and sanctions on Russia,
Mm,
we can expect that it's going to take some time because this Russia war is actually an eye opener,
yes.
and there has been every need for Russia, for the West
Yes.
in recent times,
Mhm.
to become less dependent on Russian oil,
Yes.
and that in a foreseeable future, in fact I would say unforeseeable future, will make the West to turn back to some countries like Nigeria to make investments to meet their energy needs in at least the near future.
Yes,
Until
yes, yes. What
the
we've been seeing is that Africa is taking a position that you can't rush us.
yes,
You've The West has used all kinds of
energy,
fuel,
yes,
and
are still using,
are still
including
using, including coal.
coal.
and they have developed their economy to a level where they can, but even like you rightly pointed out, with the development in Russia has shown that it's too early to lay down on fossil fuel. Is only the thing there is now to find a way of reducing the emissions, ensuring that the cleaner version of fuel is gotten from it. And Nigeria, Africa as a whole, still has a long way to go.
And still has much to benefit from
fossil fuel. Fossil fuel. So
it's not yet.
It's not yet.
That time.
Like our leaders have said, Africa, we don't want to be rushed.
Exactly. So let's hope that we'll put the right policies and our acts together this time to make sure that during these last days of fossil fuel, we benefit optimally. That's how we want to call it a day on Money Radio today. So thank you very much again for being here to be a part of the show. And as usual, we always enjoy your analysis, your conch analysis. So thank you very much. Thanks to our producers also, who make sure that this that the footage is actually the best. Yes, and I want to say thank you mainly to those of you who follow us loyally on this program. Until tomorrow, when we come up with a fresh edition of Money Radio, which is transportation segment of the program, we'll say great day to you. Don't get into trouble. Have a great day. It's like this guy taking us off a long time.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.